Okay, today we'll talk about qualitative field research, which is something very important in data collection. Perhaps you may remember that I don't prefer to use these qualitative quantitative divide. Yeah, these research methods, they are not so separated. They should be integrated. That's why we are preferring multi-method research when we are trying to design a research project. But it's a tradition to make such a distinction. Today we'll talk about topics appropriate to field research. We'll talk about some research paradigms. You'll learn how to conduct focus groups and how to conduct in-depth interviews. Okay. Qualitative studies, they are interested in observing social phenomena directly instead of using intermediaries such as interviewers or something like that. They are preferring to observe and interpret it. And they are trying to understand attitudes and behaviors of individuals and large groups. And they are trying to collect data when it happens. The classical example studies about Gezi protest. You can conduct a lot of research about Gezi protest, but you may remember that it's a kind of reconstruction of the past. It's not easy to use as a real presentation of what's happening. It's a kind of reconstruction, ex post facto, after the issue, after the event. They are trying to collect information during the event. That's the difference, and it's a very developed and nice method. What kind of topics we can understand? We can use these qualitative methods. We can look at practices, how words are spread. For example, who tells whom, how, gossips, and all these stuff you can understand by using qualitative methods. You can focus on episodes. Episodes means different time periods. Think about episodes of TV series or something like that that are formulated by breaking points, time points. For example, think about your life, what kind of episodes you have. For example, university life is a kind of episode. After graduation, it will be another episode. If you go out to make a study, it will be another episode. All of us, we are formulating our life a compilation of different episodes. And by using qualitative methods, you can understand how people are dividing their lives into episodes, which time points are important for them, because it's something relative, it's not absolute. And you can focus on encounters. For example, think about first person you met in this university. Who was this person? I'm not sure he or she is your best friend, but it's a kind of encounters. Or we can formulate this question in a different way. How did you meet your best friend, your university best friend? In which condition? It's an encounter. How do you meet people? There are very nice works focusing on. For example, we are working on prejudices against Syrians. Did you meet a Syrian? Where? Do you know a Syrian personally? How did you know it? Do you see? You can use these tools. We can focus on roles. All of us, we have different roles in this life. Here, I'm a professor, I'm a father, I'm a fan, I'm a partner, Yeah, I have too many roles. All of you, you have, for example, you are a student, you are a friend, you are a offspring of someone. All of us with different social and other roles in our lives. You can focus on this role issue. It's something important because roles, they are idealized representation. That's why if you ask someone who is a good student, you will get a idealized answer. For example, who's a good Turkish citizen? Who is a good Armenian? Do you see? All of them, they are idealized. Within groups, there are huge tensions about this idealized definition of an ideal member of a group, because as you are becoming a member of a social group, you are trying to imitate this idealized personality who never exists. You can look at relationships, friendships, for example, is something important because as a result of this distant education or online education disaster, friendships, they change a lot. Friendship practices change a lot. That's why by looking at these friendships, you can try to understand how digitalization of our life affected this relationship. Family relations, for example, another problem we can address. Yeah, as we are in the hybrid education system. If you want, you have an option not to come here. Not it means that your life in your house became more important for you, for many of you. That's why it's a reconstruction of relationships with your family, your sister, your brother, your grandmother. There are different family members that you are reconstructing these relationships because when you are a full-time student, your life was different. But now you are a sometime student. That's why your roles change a lot. The relationship with your parents, the issue of authority, the issue of autonomy. There are too many issues we need to think. We can learn by using these methods. It's not easy to learn all this stuff by using simple questionnaires or surveys. You need to make that kind of in-depth attempts to understand the phenomenon. You can look at groups. Do you know this movie scene? It's from West Side Story, the first version, 1960s, not the new one. These are jets. And perhaps you know the story. It's a kind of Romeo and Juliet story in 1950s in Brooklyn or New York. There are two different gangs. Uh, One is formed by white Americans. The second group is composed of Puerto Ricos, and there is a huge fight between these two groups, blah, blah, blah. But we are, this movie is excellent because it gives some idea about juvenile relationships. Juvenile means about youth, young, the relationship between youth groups, because I don't know whether you are a member of group or not. When I was young, yeah, we had groups. We had that kind of fights. In this, yeah, each group has its timing, but not only that kind of gangs. In your real life, you are living within groups, small groups, friendship groups, or other types of groups. In each group, there are group dynamics. Who is the leader? Who is the follower? Always there is a leader and there is a follower. Follower, yeah, many times you observe that follower sets the criteria for the rest of the group. There is a competition for the leadership, but yeah, there is a competition also for being a follower. That's why group dynamics may be very interesting. Who is a friend with whom, etc., etc. What kind of relationships? This issue, these methods can give an important insight to us how groups are functioning. We can focus on organizations, for example, labor unions, practices within labor unions. You can analyze what's happening within the labor unions. What are rules? What are norms? What is important and what is not important? You can use this social identity approach to understand labor union membership. It should be a kind of idealized worker typology. And who is this? What kind of tensions? It may be important to understand. Settlement, this neighborhood doesn't exist anymore. It was close to Ankara. They abolished it and they built some ugly, stupid apartments. You can, if you fly to Ankara, you will see that. You can understand settlements. Settlements, they are, of course, they are geographical units, such as neighborhoods, but they are also social units. There are too many relationships within settlements. There are two nice studies. The first one has been conducted. It wasn't an academic study. It was a kind of ethnographic attempt by Jack London. Jack London spent some time in a labor neighborhood. He went there, he tried to find job, etc. in London. And he, as far as I remember, he hired a room in a hotel. He was visiting this hotel room several times to take a rest because it was impossible. Another nice stuff was conducted by another scholar. It was about Sultan Bey. She went there. She hired an apartment or a room. She lived there for a while. She established a lot of relationships, blah, blah. And as far as I remember, she invited his mother and her father to live with her to give an idea of a family woman not being a threat to the rest of the neighborhood. She published this paper, this book. It's interesting. You can go there. You can try to understand all those relationships. We will come back to this example because it provides us a kind of ethical problem. We will discuss it. Okay. You can focus on social words. Do you know what is it? Do you have any idea about this picture? It's Wall Street. Do you know Wall Street? Yeah, this is the heart of the capitalism. Okay. Thank you, Mariam. And do you see the bull? Bull represent rapidly increasing prices. There are two types of investors, bulls and bears. Bulls, they are buying when it increases, and bears, they are buying when it decreases. They are long-term investors. Bulls are short-term investors. There's this, yeah. There are different markets. For example, Wall Street is a kind of bull market. And Istanbul also is a bull market. The issue, what is a market? Does it exist? Do you think that, yeah, there is a Wall Street, there are nice buildings there, people are buying something and saying, what are they buying and selling? Do you have any idea? They are general, they are selling shares of some companies. Meaning that if you buy a share, you are becoming a stakeholder, shareholder of a company, meaning that if this company makes some profit, you'll earn some money. That's the relationship. Really? No. A friend of mine conducted a research about understanding of these markets. Koray Çalışkan. Koray Çalışkan worked about cotton markets. There are that kind of market. You can buy and sell cotton. For what? For just buying and selling. You don't use them. Yeah, indeed, the markets were designed. You are a cotton producer. You are selling your cotton in advance, and some people, they are trading this stuff. For example, you'll get cotton on spring, for example, but you are selling it in December with a discount. Some people, they are buying all the stuff and they are selling to someone else, etc., etc. This is options market. This is not, this is option markets. Okay, you are selling all the stuff. Did you get the point? You are selling cotton and buying cotton, etc., but you are not trading in it. Please, do you have any question?
No.
Okay. Yeah, he focused on this topic. He interviewed cotton producers. He attended to a training class for traders. He worked as a trader for a short time, and he interviewed all the traders, etc., etc. Because markets, they are constructs, they don't exist. We are imagining, we are constructed as a idealized place of fair exchange, but in it, they are not. That's why it's possible to focus on it. And funny thing, do you know this logo?
Yes.
Starbucks, isn't it? 1/16 of the logo. And you are recognizing. Everybody recognizes. The original example was McDonald's. Everywhere, people are recognizing this logo by looking at 1/16 of this logo. Everybody knows Starbucks. What is Starbucks? I'm still, it was 2010, something like that. I first used Starbucks because Starbucks was new in Turkey. People were loving it and were spending some time there, etc. Starbucks was a kind of lifestyle. Now we have third generation coffee houses. Do you know any third generation coffee house? Thank you, Mariam. Nero? No, no, Nero is not. Nero is second generation. Same as Starbucks. Do you know Petra?
Yeah.
Third generation.
I don't drink coffee. I don't drink coffee.
There are too many small coffee producers. These are third generation. And they are very expensive, indeed. What is Starbucks? It presents a kind of lifestyle. Yeah, sometimes there are some discussions in Twitter. People are attacking people who are consuming Starbucks. Indeed, I used to love Starbucks for a couple of years, but it's over. How can I say, over roasted? Really, it's over roasted. Yeah. Now I try to buy it myself, and I'm trying to prepare myself. But it's a kind of lifestyle. Do you see? Coffee consuming. There are courses, and for example, do you have anything in your mind about example of this stuff? Yes, Mariam, I agree. It doesn't work at all. Yeah, it's over roasted. Okay, I agree with you. Yeah. Do you know any other symbol of lifestyle? When our campus was open, Espresso Lab was the representation of a lifestyle, this place. And you can find some other examples. It's something important, but by using qualitative methods, you can understand the meaning of Starbucks. It's something important, especially if you are working in plazas. Yeah, if you are working as a white collar worker, it's something important consuming at Starbucks or Nero or other places, and a great all table. But coffee is very example. Chronotop, yes, chronotrop, yes. The coffee is really expensive. Yeah, it's not easy to afford easily. Okay, 1/16. Okay, we have some dilemmas. Please be careful about these dilemmas because I'm asking at the exam. Yeah. First dilemma. Can you act as a complete observer, as a Martian? What does it mean being a Martian? Do you remember the story about Sheriff Martin's Martians? He wrote a piece about social sciences in 1950s, and he said that the world is regular. If two Martians visit Istanbul, go to Galata Bridge, they can observe regularities. Some days Galata Bridge will be overcrowded, some days it won't be. At some hours it will be overcrowded, etc. They can understand regularities, even Martians. The world has that kind of regularities. The question is that can we act as Martians when we are contacting people? Or do we need to be full participant? The issue is that the old school thinks that it was possible to act as a Martian, as an objective observer. You could go there, make some observations, you can take some notes, and you can objectively interpret your notes. The issue is that, is it easy to be that kind of objective? We are all human beings. We are identifying ourselves with some roles. The issue is that, for example, assume that you are visiting Hatay to conduct a research. Why not? Can you act as a Martian, or will you identify yourself with some people, or will you have some empathy towards other people? You have some empathy. You need to act empathetically. You cannot be objective. It's highly related to your research question. Do you remember in your research question, you had to write why you picked this topic? You gave your subjective reasons. Because of these subjective reasons, you cannot act objectively. That's why we are focusing on being reflexive, being empathetic, being interpretive, instead of insisting on objective with the issue. You cannot be objective, you need to accept it. The alternative is being a convert. Being a convert means that you can go there. For example, you want to study all this football fandom, you go there, you are acting as a fan of Galatasaray, you are observing everything, etc. Is it acceptable? Similarly, I said that this woman went to live in Sultanbeyli and she lived there. Here, there is a problem of hyper identification. If you go there, you'll identify yourself with the people, and it will prevent your scientific approach. I don't say objectivity, you are not objective at all, but yeah, if you are trying to conduct a kind of scientific study, you need to be careful about your methodological problems. If you identify yourself with Galatasaray, you cannot be critical. Being critical is the secret, is the key of good science. Being critical towards you and your method, etc., etc. You need to be critical. If you identify yourself, if you act as a convert, you cannot be critical. This is something important. Some people say that no, you don't need to be critical. No, you have to be critical. Not critical of your subjects. You have to be critical of yourself. That's the difference, of your method. This is an important paradigmatic shift. When I say being reflexive, it means that you have to be careful about changes you are experiencing during the research. You won't stay as the same person, you'll change. That's why you need to be careful about how I changed, how I became a different person during the research. That's why we are using this reflective method. The question, in the example I gave, woman visited the Sultan Beyli lived there as one of these people. She was anonymous. No one knew that she was conducting a research. She thought that everyone thought that she was one of them. She lied. The question, advocates of this approach says that if you are anonymous, you can collect better information. If you are anonymous, people will act sincerely. If you declare your identity, if you say that I'm from the university, I'm conducting research, and tell me what to know. How come? Is it easy to collect some information? Do you remember what we discussed 2 or 3 weeks ago about the dynamics of response? Do you remember people were trying to convince you that they are very nice persons, they are acting gently, they are good citizens, etc., etc. They will try to impress you. They will lie. And advocates of anonymity say that, okay, if you are anonymous, they cannot cheat you. There are some problems. Is it ethical to lie to people about your research? Second, doesn't matter. The issue is that in each interaction, we are lying, we are acting. Yeah, okay, when you say that you are a researcher, they will try to impress you, but indeed, they are still trying to impress their neighbors, their friends, their families. Each of us, we are trying to impress someone. Your position doesn't change this problem. Okay, the issue, what will happen? Generally, nowadays, ethical boards, they don't accept anonymous interventions. You need to declare your position. Okay, you will lose some data. Okay, it's better than losing some data. It's better than lying. That's important, because yeah, imagine that you became a friend in this Sultanbeyli neighborhood. She thought about domestic violence in her house, whatever. She told you as your friend. Will you write it in your report? Can you imagine? We are talking with many people. Everything I'm saying here can be recorded by anyone. I'm talking that I'm not your friend, but if we would be friends, and I could easily say something private, and I would prefer to read in an academic report. Do you see this tension is something important? It's an important dilemma. Another dilemma, we talked about being a Martian or not, being a recruit or not, be acting anonymously or not, and we have another dilemma, how we will interpret what they say. This is naturalism. What do you see? What are they? Mariam, do you have any idea what are they?
Sorry, Hocam, my connection was bad. What was the question?
Do you see this screen?
Yes, Hocam.
What do you see?
It's I think it's a romanticized picture, art.
Yeah. What are they? What do we see?
Fruits.
Fruits. Okay.
Grapes, melon, peaches.
Very good starting point. Are they melons, peaks, grapes, or are they quote unquote romanticized representations of grapes, etc.?
They're romanticized because
not grapes.
yes.
They are not what we see. They are representations. Chicago School in 1940s, they conducted a lot of research under the leadership of Talcott Parsons. They conducted a lot of research around in different places of the state. Just after the great economic crisis, they talked with people. They thought that what they heard was the reality. what they observed was the reality. If you say, okay, I'm satisfied with this government, they thought that, okay, this person is satisfied with the government. If someone says, okay, school education is not important, they say, this person really believes that school education is not important. Do you see? They thought that they were first, of course, objective observers. Secondly, what they learned was a reality. But the issue, the alternative is something different. It is called ethnomethodological approach. It's based on ethnographic practices. They said the reality was socially constructed rather than being out there. This is a classical example I'm giving. We are interviewing young children, not so young. They are working. We are trying to interview them. They say that they are happy. They say that they are happy because they are contributing to the family budget, or they can earn their pocket money. That's why they say that they are happier than their friends. The question, are they really happy? Or are they justifying their situation, their position by adhering some values, helping family? I'm working, I'm happy with my family, then I'm happy. This is their justification strategy. Do you see? Yağmur Hoca, do you know Yağmur Nurhat from sociology department? She's conducted funny research. She's conducting research about football fans, and I said that all of them, they are lying to you, but she's a naive person. She loves this stuff, but she interviewed taxi drivers in Istanbul. And she tried to understand, okay, they are continuously violating rules, and she tried to understand how they are justified, because they said that they are acting morally. Each of us, we are trying to act morally. That is something important. It's not easy to accept that you are an immoral person. You may have some bad behaviors, of course, or there will be some explanation. Last year, or before last year, she conducted research with cheating students. It was funny. People who were visiting this guy, I don't remember his name. Yeah, she tried to understand, okay, we are cheating. I don't care about you are cheating or not, but my question is that why you are cheating? How you are justifying this behavior? All of us, we are trying to justify our behaviors. And she looked at these patterns of justification. There, she wrote something very interesting in Reflective. You can find it in our journal about being moral. This is something important to understand motives. This is my perspective. I am a constructivist from this perspective. Whenever I'm conducting that kind of research, I'm trying to understand motivations, logic, etc. Because if someone says that I'm cheating, but I'm moral. I have a funny story I will tell. During class week, I was in Southeastern region to conduct focus groups, and I collected very funny and interesting information. The difference between naturalism and ethnomethodology is very simple. Naturalists, they think that reality exists there, they can find that. Ethnomethodologists think that there's no reality. We are constructing altogether. Do you see the difference? Thank you. Okay, we'll talk about focus groups. I'm not sure you participated that kind of meeting. It's a kind of meeting with participation of 6 to 8 people. This person is moderator. These are customers. This is a mirror. That's why it's called mirror room. Aynı oda. You can sit there and you can watch what's happening, and you can direct this moderator to ask questions, etc. Now we are using video transmission instead of using that kind of room. I will show a small sketch about it. These people ask questions, others try to answer, etc., etc. Okay, moderator is important because imagine that it's a kind of closed meeting. You cannot intervene, you cannot change the course, etc. You need to believe in the capacity of the moderator. Moderator asks questions, asks follow-up questions, tries to find something interesting, etc., etc. Moderator is very important. He or she must be mentally prepared. These are mechanics, things you need to remember where you are conducting focus groups. First, speak clearly. Don't use technical words. You need to show that their participation is very important. That's why you need to establish rapport. You need to create a kind of discussion within friends. Maintain eye contact, show interest is something important. When you are talking, try to keep eye contact. A clue for you, if you cannot look directly, there is a very nice trick. You can look at this place. People, they don't understand the difference. It's something important. Another trick, when you are making a public speech, you can divide the class into 4. Pick one person from each quarter, look at that person. Yeah, when you are looking at this way, everyone sitting there will think that I'm looking at them personally. This is something important. If you can work in that way, you cannot convince that you are a sincere person. Control your body language. Body language is very important. Do you know book Empathy? Yeah, it's a very at the beginning of the book, there is stuff about focus group discussions. There is a booklet, real booklet, composed of 500 different body language tricks. For example, if I'm sitting like that, it means that I'm not interested. If I'm sitting like that, I'm interested. If I'm sitting like that, I'm not interested in you. These are common stuff. You can easily understand. If they are, each of them, they are looking at you, it means that you are on the right track. You need to control your body language. Sometimes they will say stupid things, sometimes they will lie, sometimes they will give wrong information. Poker face. You don't show anything. You are not a teacher. You are not to train them. You are not to give information. You are trying to learn. That's why you need to control your position like that. You need to ask follow-up questions like that. Oh, Darren, you say that you are living in Beykoz. Beykoz is a very nice place. And how do you come to the university? Do you see? It's a follow-up question because you said you are coming from Beykoz. But it's something important because people think that they are very special. You need to do that. And of course, especially in Turkey, people don't have that kind of practice. When they start to talk, they are talking a lot, blah, blah, blah. You need to take the control of the discussion. It's something important, meaning that sometimes, okay, I got your point. And what do you think about that? Your style is very important at this point because you can discourage some people with your behavior. You cannot be so harsh that you can, okay, yeah, you are right. Yeah, I agree with you, but what do you think about this stuff? You have to control this. Well, these are, okay, I'm checking. What's the name? The name of the book? Empathy. Yes. It's an excellent book, be sure. Okay, let's talk about dynamics. I say that we talked about mechanics. Now I'm talking about dynamics. Dynamics mean that during the session, there will be a lot of interaction between group participants. The first one, fight flight. Issue is that someone said something challenging to the climate, to the mood of the meeting. There are two options. He can fight or he can fly. What does it mean? He can insist in his opinion, starts to arguing, or he can prefer to be silent. Generally, these groups take about 2 hours at maximum. That's why for 2 hours, no one wants to fight if it is not something important and if he doesn't have a personal problem. But indeed, they prefer to shut up. But it's something important. This person could provide very important information to you. That's why you need to be careful. You need to encourage them to participate to the meeting. Oneness means that one participant feels that the rest of the group doesn't share his opinions or her opinions. Same, you can be silent. I don't want to discuss with these people. I will go 2 hours later, something like that. And at this point, you need to encourage this person to talk. It will may be very fruitful. The opposite is the Venus. So you can see that, okay, in Trabzon, we don't have terraces. We love everyone. Venus is something important. Yeah, I conducted the research about some ethnic groups. They said that, okay, we blah, blah, blah. We are not racist. We love everyone, but today, blah, 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 blah. They hate of people. Do you see? We, us versus them discussion. They are trying to present themselves as an ideal person. It's something important. You need to attack this Venus issue. You need to break down. You need to focus on opinion differences. Some other pairing is funny. Sometimes participants, they are identifying themselves with another participant. As this person said, as this young lady said, or as this uncle said, do you see? They are trying to support each other against the rest of the group. Generally, we don't prefer to accept people who know each other to the group, but sometimes you have to do. Then you need to control this pairing issue. Dependency is the relationship between the moderator and the participant. As you are the boss, as you are asking questions, as you pay the money, and as you are the provider of food and drink, they are trying to satisfy your expectations. And they are trying to understand your expectations from your questions and behaviors. You can say that, okay, my Hoja, you are very right, and you know better than me. Explain. If someone says you know better than me, you will say, no, I don't know. That's why I'm here. If I'm here to learn. Do you see? You have to break this dependency, because if you are a good professional, they cannot understand your opinion about this topic. It's something important. These are dynamics and they are very valid. And in each group, there are some inherent cleavages. What does it mean? You know that if you form a group of old and young people, there will be a conflict there. It's guaranteed. You know, Turkey is a very patrimonial society. Fathers and mothers, they are always right. Older people are more dominant. In these cases, sometimes younger persons, they are trying to show themselves, but generally they don't want to talk. That's why we don't want older and younger persons in the same group. Ethnicity matters many times. When I was very, very young, in 1996, I was conducting a research in Kemer, Göktürk. We arranged all the stuff. We invited 8 people. They were not liking each other. We didn't have any idea. And suddenly we realized that they are from different ethnicities. They didn't want to discuss with each other. They were attending to different coffee shops. So really, that's why we don't prefer male versus female. Yeah, in urban centers, in younger groups, you can live with it. But when we are talking about older groups, women, they don't want to talk in the presence of men. That's why we don't like it. Working female and housewives, there's always a tension between them. They are discussing whatever the topic is, they are discussing the same thing. According to working women, the rest is ignoring. And according to housewives, working women, they are not good mothers. They are discussing the same thing always. That's why we don't like it, but yeah, now we don't care. Upper versus lower socioeconomic status, not surprisingly. Upper socioeconomic status dominates. Urban versus rural. It's something important, especially in rural areas. First, you cannot find people who doesn't know each other. It's clear. Everyone knows everyone. And once they start to discuss, they are starting things happened 100 years ago. It's not related. There is an excellent book of Berger, Once Upon in Europe. It's an excellent book, and it's a series of books, but at the end of the book, first book, Berger writes about the circularity of life in rural places. In urban places, this is linear, but in rural places, it's circular. That's why they are experiencing the same stuff since 100 years. That's why we don't prefer to compile that kind of groups. Okay, this is a, do you see, it's a flow. We are starting with introduction, introduce yourself, where do you live, what is your occupation, etc., etc. Then we are skipping to most important problems. Do you see these are problems? Make a list. I'm making a list. Then we are trying to pick okay, tell me what is the most important of this country. They are selling something, and I'm writing, and then I'm asking what is the most important. Then what are the reasons of this problem? I'm making a list, etc. Who can solve this problem? You are using the list and you are making another list. Then we have some specific issues. We are discussing political actors and elections. Do you see? It takes about 2 hours, and yeah, all these directions they are lying. Yeah, indeed, it does. Yeah, you cannot discuss this issue within 50 minutes. If you have 8 participants, it means that you have 2 minutes for each participant. But yeah, let's say, but this is the flow. It's called flow. Focus group discussion or flow. Okay, recruiters, they are very important. They are finding people to participate. We are paying them to find participants, and they are paying participants to participate. And it creates a problem of professional participants because we are paying well. People are starting to attend focus groups as a profession, and they start to laugh. Okay, I'm drinking Coke. No, I'm drinking Pepsi. I like blah blah. Do you see? No, I don't like blah blah. They are changing roles, and it's a big yes, a big issue for us. Groups cannot be representative because it's composed of 8 persons, 8 to 6 persons, 6 to 8 persons. They cannot be representative. You can collect them randomly, or you can use quota-based approach like that. They will be homogeneous group. You can prefer homogeneous groups or diverse groups. This is the distribution of groups. Do you see a group, one group in Istanbul, female 18 to 27, Istanbul male, a young man, older female, older male, in Diyarbakır female 28-65. Do you see? We are making that kind of arrangements. Of course, there is no quota of for partisan identity, but sometimes we can do it. When we are analyzing focus groups, we are focusing on words, not statistics. Some people do that. 8 out of the 10, 10 people participate. What does 8 out of 10? It's qualitative. You need to focus on words, phrases. That's why we are transcribed. We are using full transcription of discussions. We are coding them and we are focusing on direct quotations. That's a part of a discussion. Can you see it's a discussion between moderator and young participant? Then we are taking it and we are taking notes. We are using that kind of software and Vivo. That's the place. Sometimes we are putting the video to guarantee synchronicity and we are taking notes. And that's the outcome. You can see there's a direct quotation to a woman. It's something important because people still, they don't have a clear idea about how to write reports. Quotation, quotation, quotation. Think that you are shooting a documentary. You have a camera, you went out, you are asking people a lot of questions, and then you will prepare the documentary. Direct quotations. These people say that, blah, blah, blah. One shot, another shot, then at the end of the day, you are compiling. It's something important. Sometimes I'm reading any report and say, okay, you say that you talk with 40 people, but your quotations, all of your quotations, they are from 5 people. That's wrong. What happened to the rest? It's something important. Do you see? If you pick up quotations of only 5 people and you don't give any quotation to other 35 people, it means that there's a problem. Quotations at as much as possible is something important for us. Advantages, it's social oriented research methods. You have a power to observe interaction with people. It's flexible. You can change it even during session. The moderator can change or other people can change. It has a face validity. You can have speedy results and it's relatively cheap compared to surveys. But you don't have control. So for example, we are asking what is the most important problem of the country and someone says car prices. You can listen these car prices for 25 minutes. Why car prices are high, why they didn't buy any car, etc., etc. Someone said you have limited control. It's not easy to analyze findings. It's not easy to find skilled moderators. Moderators say they should be skilled, well-trained, experienced. You can observe some significant differences across groups and you cannot understand the reason of this difference. Think that you conduct the research in Adana about the earthquake, then Hatay, okay, you got different data, you had some different discussions, you cannot understand what happened there. It's not easy to form these groups. Yeah, in a professional job, you can spend a lot of money. But if you are conducting your own research, it's not easy to arrange 6 or 8 people to come there. It's really difficult. And yeah, the environment is very important. Where do you conduct? For example, some friends, they are conducting a focus group with Syrians in the schools or muhtars places, etc. I'm not sure that's correct because it shows the state, presence of the state. It affects their arguments. That's why a good room as a place to discuss a coffee house. In Brazil, they are conducting focus groups in pubs. Can you imagine? They are drinking beer, discussing. In Turkey, it's impossible. Yeah, we cannot invite women to drink some beer with us in Erzurum. It should be very difficult. We are using a kind of meeting room in hotels. They are using their meeting rooms, and we are providing tea and coffee. They can drink, they can eat, and they can discuss. We are trying to prepare. I love focus groups. At the second part of the class, I will show a scene from a movie. I'll try to find, okay, for instance, we can take a break. It's 10 past 10. We can have a 10-minute break. 20 past 10, we can come back and continue. Okay. Okay, 10 minutes break. I'm pausing. I'm pausing. Recording, and I want to show a part of an excellent movie. If you are interested in all this stuff, it's an excellent movie. I hope you will hear the sound.
Appeal to their heads, numbers, projections.
Available on game. And you can find as well. Okay, do you see it was the setting? People were sitting there and there was a moderator. Generally, we don't allow it to say that kind of intrusion. The customer, the campaign manager came to the room and start to discuss. It's not possible to make it in Turkey. Okay, it's a funny place. Okay, I'm sharing my screen and we are moving with the rest. Okay. Okay, now we are talking about in-depth interviewing. In-depth interviewing is a discussion between one person and another person. It's recorded. We are using a different terminology. We are not talking about respondents, we are talking about informants, because we assume that they are informed about the topic. We are not talking about interviewers, we are talking about collectors. They are collecting data. And we are not talking about questionnaires, we are talking about instruments. They are different. We are using collectors to collect information from informants, are using instruments. They are different. In-depth interviews, they are conducted with 40, something like that, with small samples. We assume that these people, they are informed, if not well informed, about the topic we will talk about. And by using this information, data, you are trying to make stuff. It's a flow. We are using the same stuff, flow. Do you see all of them? They are open-end questions, but we assume that collector will use other questions, some prompt questions to for information. When we are talking about in-depth interviews, we are talking about mining or traveling. Mining means you know that there is something there. You are digging, you are asking questions to reach to this reality. You know that this person has that kind of behavior, that kind of attitude, and you are asking questions to find this attitude. But traveling is a kind of free flow. You don't know what you will find. Do you know this place? It's a lovely place. It is Trilye of Bursa. And if you travel in the streets of Trilye, you can find very beautiful places. You need to travel there in the streets instead of trying to directly go somewhere. That's the difference. Generally, we think that traveling is better than mining, because in the mining, you are pushing people to say something. In traveling, you are observing of the flow of the opinions. It's much more important for us. Do's and don'ts, of course. First, in Turkey, we are starting to discussions by talking about weather and other stuff. You need to create a kind of personal relationships. That's why we are asking that kind of questions. You need to listen in attention, with attention. You need to be concentrated. You need to explore keywords, phrases, idioms, terms within the conversation in their natural setting. You need to focus on impressions, and sometimes they will stop talking about something special. You need to try to push them to talk about this topic if you can. Try to make it natural, a natural conversation instead of asking questions by question. You cannot give your opinions. We are not, it will impress the participant. It will affect her responses. That's why you need to be careful. And you need to be open to unexpected information. That's why it requires huge concentration during the interview. We have that kind of problems when we are asked them to make that kind of interviews. They prefer to ask question by question and question. It doesn't work. You will ask a question, you will listen, you will ask some other questions. Sometimes you will check with your flow, blah, blah, blah. It's something important. Yeah. It's not easy to make that kind of research, but people think that it's very easy. And don't influence responses. Don't move from one topic to other topic. Don't forget about the flow. If you skip, it will break the flow. You will feel it. Don't interrupt the informant. Let them talk or don't lie. These are the principles. You can collect detailed information. You need to conduct it in a relaxing environment. It's open to bias. Interviewer is critical and it's not generalizable because you are conducting this research in 2024. Okay, then we can stop here. We talked about qualitative methods, some qualitative methods. You have access to our book. It's in Turkish, and there are a lot of videos about all this topic. You can watch these videos, etc. But also, there is a handbook in your readings, handbook for best practices in research. You can find a lot of information about how to conduct it. It's English, if you want. It's a very, there are too many videos in your online platform about this stuff. Okay, I'm stopping here. I'm sharing. I'm stopping recording.